Alright, we're going to take two. That video that I just made a second ago was piss poor, horrible. You guys deserve better than that. And we're going to try it again from the top. Today, on my lunch, the biggest wrestling story that I really read out there was about CM Punk. WWE trying to decide if they're going to extend his contract and try to keep him, under wraps for at least 60 more days. WWE has a clause in their contract if, due to injury or, I guess in CM Punk's sort of situation, if you just sort of walk out and you don't work the amount of dates that are in your contract, they can just sort of extend your contract, or they keep you under contract. You're not able to go somewhere else and help somebody out. When I think about, if WWE was to let the contract lapse, and if CM Punk did get the opportunity to go wrestle somewhere, whether if it was in Japan, whether if it was TNA, whether if it was in Ring of Honor, honestly, if he goes and wrestles in Japan, if he goes in and wrestles for Ring of Honor, I think that it'll have a splash. People will hear about it. People will know about it. But if CM Punk is wrestling on a Pro Wrestling Noah or a New Japan pay-per-view, let's say he's in the main event against AJ Styles from the Bullet Club, people are going to get the show. People are going to find a way to watch it. But I don't think it's going to have a major splash or a major deal. People might go out and buy the Ring of Honor pay-per-view and see it. But let's say he does find his way into TNA, and CM Punk working his way into TNA is a long way away. We've seen him make the jokes about TNA, that it's just, he's ran that company down as much as he can, being a company guy, or maybe it's just the way he really feels about, the way the company really is set up and going forward. But let's say if they were able to reach out and they were to entertain CM Punk with an amount of money that would make him want to go work a few days a month for the TV tapings, especially the way they do TV tapings now, where you're just working, a series of days and then you're off for pretty much a month. You have a pay-per-view pop up every once in a while that you film. So at the most, you're working 4 days, unless you want to do house shows and things like that. And even TNA isn't even running that many house shows. But, I mean, the one thing that I think Vince is going to want to keep CM Punk under wraps in WWE and keep him under contract as long as basically as long as he lives. I think for the amount of money that they're going to pay CM Punk his downside guarantee, I think you should just keep rolling this over and over and over. And I know that Vince would have to sign a check. CM Punk's going to get paid money to sit at home. But just think how big of a splash it would be if he was able to sign with TNA. He was able to walk out on a live Impact, and they were able to give us a little bit of notice that he was going to be there. How many people out there are going to flip over and watch TNA Impact, just to see what he's going to say, whether it's, a pipe bomb promo. I know that he doesn't really do scripted promos, and even if he can make up, the biggest story in the world, there's always going to be a little bit of truth in everything that he's saying, so people are going to fall for it big time. I definitely think that, TNA is a show that, always gets 1 million viewers, everybody says on Spike. I don't know if you can get to 2, but I know there's a lot of people out there that don't watch TNA Impact that are going to flip on and watch Impact if Punk walks out there. If you go into the history of WWE versus TNA in the war that's going on, you go back to whatever year it was when Kurt Angle was let go of his deal. It was sort of a worked out release between both parties. They didn't fire him. He asked for the time. They gave him the time. He told WWE, "I'm going to go home. I'm going to rest my body. I'm going to get rid of these injuries that I have." He had a prescription pill habit that he's gone into depths and he's talked about a lot. And I'm not really sure if he was admitting that alcohol was a problem back then. But he was going to clean himself up and he was going to get better, and then he was going to go back to WWE and doing what he does best. And in that time, TNA came calling, and they were saying, "You don't have to work that much. We'll pay you this much money. You're going to be our biggest star." And maybe you think about them bringing in Kurt Angle was a big splash, and then also you think of how big those Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle matches are. Even though a lot of people have looked at those Kurt Angle versus Joe matches and said it did really push the company to the top, and in that time. They sort of really softened one of the stars that they were really working hard to build. Samoa Joe was becoming a must-see talent, with everybody chanting "Joe's gonna kill you," and him having the undefeated streak and just going through really everybody on his way to being I don't remember if when Joe fought Angle, if it was for the championship or not. I can't remember if Joe had won the TNA championship before then. I know that they fought for the championship down the road, especially when they fought for the match that had all the titles, and it just seemed like it was a little bit too much. It was a little bit too much of an overkill. People just wanted to see Joe versus Angle. They didn't need to have 1,000 belts on the line, just one belt. They would have seen that match and loved it even if there wasn't a title match involved. Maybe if Sting fought the title somewhere else. But the moral of the story is that, when TNA was able to sign Kurt Angle, they put him on the end of the pay-per-view. That made a huge splash to where, when Impact came on, people knew this is must-see TV. I got to see what's going down. Almost just like, when TNA Impact restarted the Monday Night Wars, TNA had a huge rating increase for that live show on Monday, the first show that they put up against WWE. Too bad they weren't able to really capitalize what was going down at that point, and a lot of people just went back to DVRing, or I think at that point they were even still showing Impact on Thursday. So you could skip Impact on Monday if you didn't DVR it and just watch it a few days later in the week, because they didn't want to lose that time slot on Thursday in case people weren't going to flip over on Monday. But I definitely think that if CM Punk does go to TNA, I think that they have enough things going over there really well, and there is a lot of matches that people would want to see. Once you get Kurt sort of healthy again, you can do CM Punk versus Kurt Angle. You can rehash CM Punk versus Samoa Joe, a match that a lot of people have wanted to see for a long time again. CM Punk versus Austin Aries, CM Punk versus Davey Richards, CM Punk versus Eddie Edwards. There's a lot of matches that you could push up to be really, really big matches. And I don't even know if CM Punk wants to wrestle again. But if CM Punk wants to wrestle and he does want to make some money where he's not going to have to work so much, TNA is a hell of an option and one hell of a way to sort of tell Vince to fuck off by going out there and starting a war. Who knows how it's going to end up in the long run, but I know there's a lot of CM Punk fans, and much like when Jeff Hardy went to TNA, a lot of Punk fans are going to follow behind him and support him. So we'll see what goes on from here. But peace out, everybody. Have a good Sunday. Talk to you tomorrow with a little bit of Monday Night Raw talk. Peace out.